I'm excited to bring in our next guest. She was a former White House senior director under Obama, and she is a host on SiriusXM. Please welcome Nayyera Huq.
Hey everyone, hey Francesca.
Hi Nayyera, thanks for joining us.
Anytime.
Okay, quickly, because this has been in the news a lot. I'm sure it's not a quick answer, but you worked under President Obama helping explain and implement national security priorities. And we're in this moment now where we've heard that Russia has potentially been paying bounties on US soldiers' heads. And I think especially progressives and people on, Democrats who are like, how are we supposed to make sense of this? We don't believe in maybe going to war on Russia, but like, what is the right response? We know what the wrong response has been based on looking at this administration.
Well, let's start with the wrong response, right? Which is to not pay attention to intelligence information, which is one of the best tools that a president has to be able to execute his commander-in-chief authority, to essentially have the White House tell the rest of the world, our guy doesn't read. So that's the best explanation, is he just doesn't read information, and that's the excuse. So we look weak against the rest of the world, and to know that several months ago this information was available. Now, that's not to say it was 100% confirmed, but that's the whole idea of having a daily briefing, of being read in, is for the president to see what's going on in the landscape, to have an understanding of what other people and other countries are doing, so that you can make decisions before it's too late. The other downside of this has been President Trump not informing any of the other allies who work in the area. I mean, the British were potentially targeted by this as well. So this really comes together as one of Trump's America first, but really it's America looking stupid overseas. Now, to the specific of how we respond to Russia, listen, Russia has been engaged in Afghanistan for decades, right? This goes back to the early 80s when the United States was arming the Mujahideen. Afghanistan has unfortunately been a place where these two great powers have proxy wars. Up until now, we've known it to be cooperation on some things, and on the others, it's there's counterintelligence gathering. They've been an adversary. If it did indeed put bounties on American soldiers' heads, takes it to the next level. That takes it to the level of now you're an enemy. And it also raises the question of what is the United States still doing there, right? What is our goal in Afghanistan that we're there? That cannot be the place where we counter Russia, and only there just to counter Russia. We have to have our own objectives for being there, and we have to be working in support of the Afghan people, and that's becoming increasingly difficult as Afghanistan breaks down into civil war.
Sure. I mean, I think for a lot of people who are tired of endless wars, and especially Afghanistan going on 20 years, is it responsible though to pull troops out? And can you do that in a way that is responsible, right? Like I think a lot of people grapple with that because they don't understand the particular situation, but they know what's going on right now is clearly not working.
Right, and we know that we've invested at least 20 years, right, of American blood and American treasure is how it's referred to, but really it's time and resources and people into trying to bring some stability to the country and then hopefully to the region writ large. I think the responsible thing to do is to acknowledge what the United States is capable of doing and what we're not. Right, we are not capable of taking an American-style government and just dumping it on another country, right? That just does not work. We are capable of helping support people coming together in a peace reconciliation process. We've heard it referred to as negotiations. And we are, I think, capable of working around what could be Taliban objectives, right? There are other people in this game as well. And I hate to refer to it as a game, but that's how it's like a chessboard. If the Taliban are going to insist that the Americans are the enemy at all costs and nothing can be done with that, then that's something we have to grapple with and understand that there's only so far we can do. Now, if the Taliban are willing to negotiate and have a conversation about laying down arms and what coming together as part of a government or looks like, then that's something the United States does have expertise in supporting, and we can do that with our allies. But at minimum, the American public deserves to hear from the commander-in-chief of what is the point of what we're doing there? How does this meet American objectives?
Sure, we can't even get democracy right in our own country. And we know that now more than ever. Thank you so much for explaining that. We could talk all day about Afghanistan, it's endless. But I wanted to pivot to talk about the Veep stakes. You recently actually wrote a piece about Stacey Abrams, and I think rightfully lauding some of her incredible qualities as a potential Veep pick. Then you talk about something called the Stacey Abrams Conundrum. What is that conundrum?
I have found just her rise in all of this and how she has approached her ambition to be fascinating. As a woman in the workplace myself, always looking at how other people with high profiles handle these situations. And up until her really starting a campaign and saying, I want to be vice president, the attitude was always, oh, let me just kind of pretend I don't want the job. And then I got tapped in the shoulder and magically now I'm suddenly vice president or president of the United States, right? And that works great if you're a white man with all the right connections. But if you are a Black woman from the South who is not petite and has already been targeted by the president of the United States for just how you look, you have to approach it differently. And so I find it very interesting, and I'm learning a lot from her just boldly stating, I want this job, here's what I can do, here's what I bring to the table. Now, she's gotten a lot of negative press. She's not the most progressive of the people being discussed to be vice president. So I'm not saying go with Stacey. What I am saying is there's a lot for us to learn from how she's gone about it. And I think ultimately her asking for what she wants is a great attitude for women. And it's only put her in a better position for whatever she chooses to do next.
I'm curious that you said she's not the most progressive, because I see her as someone who maybe is the only candidate who is, of those who are being considered, save Elizabeth Warren, but Black female candidates who wasn't a former prosecutor or a police officer. And I know a lot of the BLM energy has been sort of not shining a great light on those records of, let's say, Kamala Harris or even Val Demings. Yeah, so I'm interested in your thoughts on that. The other part of that is that a lot of people are saying Stacey Abrams doesn't have the experience because she wasn't elected, that she didn't win the governorship in Georgia. What's your response to that? Should that be a consideration?
Well, let's see. She managed to turn out key voters that Joe Biden will need in the upcoming election, and she did it in the South, and that's even with the voter suppression tactics. I'm talking about record turnout among African Americans and Latino voters. She has served in several government positions, so it's not like she doesn't have any of the appropriate experience, but that always ends up being the question when it comes to women who are asking for power is, you haven't done it yet, therefore I'm not going to consider you. As opposed to when men, it's the potential. Men can get by the potential. Like Barack Obama was never commander-in-chief, had not served in the military before he got that job. Neither did Mitt Romney, but that wasn't the same kind of attack against them that you don't have the relevant experience. And let's be honest, Joe Biden has not won anything outside of the Senate in a long time either. So right. That's the nature of politics. There's ups and downs to everyone's careers. The question is, can we look at women candidates equally as male candidates and look at the potential of what they can do?
That's a great point. And we were just talking about Biden winning in a very small Democratic state like Delaware, are some of the smallest electorate, right? So, that's not, that doesn't bode as great for November. It's not insignificant, but yeah. Last question. You recently wrote a piece and it was great, and it was taking from your own personal experience in your life, but basically about how in this new civil rights movement, white people have been coming out to the streets, but that's the easy part, right? That white people can protest. What do they need to do beyond that? How do we make this struggle one that can be for the long haul?
So I will say I do include myself in this as someone who is not Black, but I have Black family. And so for me, it's been a lot of listening pay attention, and understanding that there is an affirmation that comes with going out to protest. It feels like you are part of a group of people who think like you. The tougher part is when you are around friends or family or in some other work social setting where you're kind of in the same space as people, but you don't all think alike. And that's when you really have to start to break down the cultural conversations and not cede the space to people just making casually racist or sexist or bigoted comments, right? The idea that we've had, I think, as liberals for a long time is let's just keep the peace, let's be civil. And I think of, what's the cultural, social version of civil disobedience? Because all civility has done is silence those of us who care deeply about these issues and allowed racists to be the ones to dominate the conversation, whether it be at a store, which is what my experience I talked about, or whether it be at a cocktail party. And so that's the day-to-day work that actually I think is much harder to do and prepare for than making some great signs and going out and just feeling like you're part of a larger community of people.
Totally. Yes, non-Black people need to talk to their families, call the Karens in your life, get them back on board.
It is not the work of Black people to do that or to tell us to do that. I think that's the most important part.
Absolutely. Nayera, thank you so much. You're wonderful, Nayera Huck. How can we follow you on all the things?
Would love to hear from you on Twitter. It's at Nayeror, Nayyeroar. My DMs are open. I enjoy hearing from people. Follow me also on SiriusXM Progress, where I host a weekly radio show called The Resistance Abroad.
Excellent. That's what we needed. The Resistance Abroad or Broad?
The Resistance Abroad, but it could be a Resistance Broad also. We go with
awesome. That. Yes, all right, Nayera Huck, The Resistance Abroad. Thank you so much, take care.
You too.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.